Welcome to this focused analysis. Today, we're going to intentionally slow down the pace. In a world that's just constantly loud, right? Driven by endless data streams, push notifications, and this relentless 24/7 demand for our attention, it's incredibly rare that we actually take a moment to just pause, to breathe, and to really focus on a deeply introspective concept. We aren't going to be looking at complex statistical models, economic shifts, or changing market trends today. Instead, we're exploring a very specific, quiet reflection drawn from our source material, one that speaks directly to human nature, our psychology, and our own internal moral compass. It's an exploration of who we really are when the noise fades away entirely. So, let's dive into this.
Are you faithful when no one is watching? Take a full second to just let that question really settle in your mind, because this is the absolute heartbeat of our exploration today. We're not talking about your behavior in public. We aren't talking about how you present yourself at the office, or, that curated, highly polished version of you that exists around friends and family. In our modern era, it has literally never been easier to perform for an audience. We carefully construct our lives for social media, we project competence in virtual meetings, and we always make sure to smile for the cameras. We're basically conditioned to seek out external validation. But this central question, it strips all of that away. It is a direct, intensely personal inquiry into who you are in total isolation. When the door is securely closed, when there's zero chance of being caught doing something wrong, and equally zero chance of being rewarded or praised for doing something right, what do? Who are you in the dark?
Which brings us naturally right to our first major point here: when no one is watching. Our entire reflection today centers completely on the integrity we show when we are totally 100% unobserved. And that seamlessly builds right into our second point, the core of our source material, the narrow path test.
Now let's unpack exactly what this test actually entails. As we see defined right here, fundamentally, the narrow path test is a conceptual reflection on personal integrity and invisible faithfulness. That phrase, invisible faithfulness, is absolutely crucial. So why is it called a test, and why is the path described as narrow? Well, it's a test because it isn't some one-time exam you can just cram and study for. It is a continuous, relentless, daily evaluation of your character that only you are grading. It's not just a passing philosophical thought. It demands an exceptional level of internal discipline. And the path is narrow precisely because it's incredibly difficult to maintain when there is absolutely no audience around to applaud your good deeds or encourage you to keep going. Human beings are biologically wired to crave that dopamine hit of social approval, right? Doing the right thing when everyone is cheering is easy. But imagine a scenario where you find a significant mistake in a project at work, or maybe a billing error that actually benefits you financially, and you know for an absolute fact that nobody else will ever trace it back to you. Fixing it is going to cost you hours of uncredited weekend work or your own money, while ignoring it costs you absolutely nothing. That is the narrow path. This concept validates the profound idea that true character isn't forged under the bright spotlight, it's forged in the quiet shadows. It's all about proving to yourself, not to society, that your core values remain perfectly intact when you are entirely unobserved.
This guides us to our third and final major theme, the least and greatest things. We're now going to anchor this psychological test in a historical, philosophical foundation.
He who is faithful in what is least is faithful also in much. This is an ancient teaching drawn directly from the biblical text of Luke chapter 16, verse 10. What's truly fascinating here is why the source uses this specific ancient wisdom to ground a modern psychological test. It's because the idea of invisible faithfulness doesn't just come out of nowhere. It relies on a timeless, universal observation of human nature, the principle of proportionality in our behavior. Across centuries, philosophers and thinkers have noted this exact same pattern. The text postulates that the scale of the action, whether it's an incredibly minor detail or an overwhelmingly massive event, actually matters very little compared to the underlying nature of the action itself. It completely strips away that comforting illusion we all have, where we think we can compromise on the small things, telling ourselves, oh, it doesn't really matter, while somehow believing we're going to remain honorable in the big things. The source argues that the character required for both is identical. You literally cannot separate the two.
And this brilliantly illustrates how microscopic moments of faithfulness directly dictate our character in major consequential moments. Think about the tiny things in your daily life, those small choices, the little promises you keep to yourself, the unglamorous chores you complete, those nearly invisible acts done in the absolute secret of your day-to-day routine. Returning the shopping cart to the rack, picking up a stray piece of trash on the sidewalk, pushing out that extra rep at the gym when you're completely alone. Now contrast that with the great things. The highly visible moments of crisis, the major leadership responsibilities, the massive decisions that alter the trajectory of a company, a family, or even a whole life. The central argument we're exploring today is that there is a direct, unbreakable bridge between the two. The way you handle the tiny, unseen moments completely dictates your capacity to handle the massive, public ones. If you make a habit of cutting corners at 8 a.m. when no one is looking, well, you're fundamentally wiring your brain and your habits to compromise at 5 p.m. when everything is on the line. An Olympic athlete doesn't just suddenly discover their endurance under the stadium lights, right? That endurance was built during thousands of invisible, lonely mornings in the cold. Your microscopic moments of invisible faithfulness directly build the structural integrity of your character for those macroscopic, crucial moments. You don't suddenly rise to the occasion during a crisis. You default to the level of your hidden daily habits.
So what does this all mean for us? Where are you on the narrow path today? After unpacking this really powerful reflection on silent integrity and understanding that ironclad link between our smallest invisible actions and our greatest responsibilities, the ball is firmly in your court. Think back to where we started just a few minutes ago. Are you truly proud of the choices you make in your moments of absolute solitude? Are you the exact same person in the dark as you are in the light? It's a deeply provocative thought, and for sure, one that deserves to echo in your mind long after this explainer ends. Thank you so much for joining me today. Take care of those least things, and I'll see you next time.